These fighters got caught playing dirty, and you won't believe how far they went. Imagine training for months. You're waking up early, running, lifting weights, and sweating every day. You eat boring food and skip birthday cake. You even stay away from video games and friends, just so you can be 100% ready for fight night. Now imagine the person you're fighting decides to cheat. That's right, some fighters in the UFC have used dirty tricks to get ahead. From eye pokes and cage grabs to secret spying and illegal moves, the UFC has seen it all. In a sport that's already tough, these moments shocked fans, coaches, and even other fighters. Some fighters got caught, others didn't. But every time it happened, it raised one big question. Is winning worth it if you cheat? Let's look at the wildest, dirtiest, and sneakiest moments in UFC history. These stories aren't just rumors, they really happened. Cheating before the fight, spying on opponents. You might think cheating only happens during the fight, but sometimes it starts weeks before anyone steps into the cage. Ian Garry versus MVP. Before Ian Garry fought Michael Venom Page, MVP, he made a shocking claim. Garry said that someone from MVP sponsor, Venom, offered one of his training partners $10,000 just to spy in his training camp. That training partner said no, but Garry was furious. He blasted MVP online and called him a cheater. MVP denied it, but the drama made fans raise eyebrows. Rampage Jackson versus Jon Jones. Rampage Jackson also believed someone was spying on him. Before fighting Jon Jones, Rampage faked a hand injury during practice. He only told a few people. Just hours later, Jon Jones' team already knew. The info spread too fast. Rampage knew someone was leaking secrets. He said, "People don't understand my level of intelligence." Jones denied everything, but the timing was suspicious. Jose Aldo versus Frankie Edgar. Some fighters don't even hide it. Jose Aldo admitted that he had people watching Frankie Edgar's training camp before UFC 200. Based on what they told him, Aldo changed his strategy. He avoided kicks and stayed away from certain punches so Frankie wouldn't guess his next move. Some call it smart, others call it sneaky. Cheating. Inside the octagon. The dirty tricks. Now let's move to the cage, where the rules are clear but not everyone follows them. These moments were shocking because they happened on live TV in front of millions of fans. Conor McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. Conor McGregor versus Khabib was one of the biggest fights ever, but Conor didn't exactly fight fair. During the fight, cameras caught him grabbing Khabib's shorts, landing illegal elbows, and sticking his fingers and toes in the cage to avoid takedowns. He even hit Khabib with a knee while he was down, which is clearly illegal. None of it stopped Khabib from winning, but fans were stunned by how many fouls went unpunished. Greg Hardy versus Ben Sassoli. Greg Hardy was tired after round 2 in his fight with Ben Sassoli. So he asked for his inhaler and took a few puffs while sitting on his stool. Problem is, that's not allowed. Inhalers help with breathing and are considered a performance booster. Hardy won the fight, but the result was overturned to a no contest. Hardy said he thought it was okay, but rules are rules. Jon Jones and eye pokes. Jon Jones is one of the greatest UFC champions ever, but he's also famous for constantly poking his opponents in the eye, over and over again. He says it's an accident, that he's just measuring distance. But it happens so often, people stop believing him. Eye pokes are dangerous, and many of his opponents have complained. Still, he rarely gets penalized. Urijah Faber versus Francisco Rivera. Francisco Rivera was doing great against Urijah Faber until Faber poked him in the eye. The ref didn't see it, and Faber took full advantage. While Rivera was still blinking and trying to see, Faber rushed in and choked him out. Rivera later said he only lost because of the eye poke. He tried to appeal the fight result, but it stayed the same. Germaine de Randamie versus Holly Holm. This fight was for the first women's featherweight title, but things got messy. Germaine hit Holly Holm after the bell, not once but twice. One punch even knocked Holly's mouthpiece out. The ref gave a warning but never took a point. Germaine won by decision, but fans were furious. Many believe Holly would have won if the rules were followed. Jose Aldo versus Chad Mendes, Fight 1. In their first fight, Chad Mendes tried to take Jose Aldo down. He had a good grip until Aldo grabbed the fence to stop it. That's cheating. The ref didn't take a point. Seconds later, Aldo knocked Mendes out with a flying knee. What if that takedown had worked? We'll never know. Michael Bisping versus Jorge Rivera. This fight was filled with trash talk. In round 1, Rivera was down on his knees, making him a grounded fighter. That means you can't knee him in the head, but Bisping did. He landed a hard knee to Rivera's head. The ref took a point, but Rivera never fully recovered. Bisping later spit toward Rivera's corner, which made things even worse. He won the fight, but fans called it one of the dirtiest performances ever. Yoel Romero versus Tim Kennedy. At UFC 178, Tim Kennedy had Romero rocked at the end of round 2. Romero looked done, but when it was time for round 3, he didn't get up from his stool. His team said the UFC cutman put too much Vaseline on his face, and they had to wipe it off. That gave Romero 28 extra seconds to rest. When the fight resumed, Romero came out fresh and knocked Kennedy out. Fans still call it Stoolgate. Kennedy was furious. But truth be told, he also grabbed Romero's glove earlier in the fight, which is also illegal. The craziest gym in UFC history, Ken Shamrock's Lion's Den. This story isn't about cheating in the cage, but it's too wild not to include. Ken Shamrock's gym, called the Lion's Den, was like a military boot camp. To join, fighters had to do 500 squats, bear crawls, and endless stair runs. Then they had to spar with fresh pros without breaks. You kept going until you passed out or quit. If you made it in, you had to live at the gym. Ken would sneak into your room and whisper threats to test your fear. His brother, Frank Shamrock, would choke out fighters at random times just to keep them alert. One guy even said he woke up to a shotgun in his face. Ken believed the fight began way before the cage. If you couldn't handle chaos in the gym, you weren't ready for real war. The GSP Vaseline scandal. Georges St-Pierre, or GSP, is seen as one of the cleanest fighters ever. But at UFC 94, during his fight with BJ Penn, something slippery happened. BJ's team saw GSP's corner rubbing Vaseline on his chest and shoulders between rounds. Vaseline is allowed on the face to protect cuts, but not on the body. It makes fighters harder to hold on the ground. The ref didn't stop the fight and GSP dominated. After the fight, BJ was furious. The commission reviewed the tape but didn't change the result. GSP's team said it was part of his breathing routine, not cheating. But BJ still doesn't buy it. In every sport, people bend the rules. But in a brutal sport like the UFC, even a small cheat can change everything. One fence grab, one eye poke, one puff of an inhaler. These moments can mean the difference between winning and losing. Some fighters cheat on purpose. Others say it's an accident, but whether it's spying, stalling, or throwing illegal strikes, the result is the same: controversy. The UFC has rules to protect fighters, but as we've seen, those rules aren't always followed. And sometimes, even when they are broken, there are no consequences. So, what do you think? Should all these fighters have lost their wins, or are some tricks just part of the game?